It's Hometown Heroes Night at White Bear Lake, and you could not ask for better conditions after some rocky weather yesterday. It is high, dry, and bright here at White Bear Lake for high school girls lacrosse. White Bear Lake and Woodbury, a couple of teams trying to build their way back up into contention. And we are live on SCC Sports and in South Washington County. If you are tuning in that area, we're glad you can join us as well. I'm Mike Peden, and no, I'm not atop the crane, but this is part of our Hometown Heroes Night. Prior to this contest, everyone on the White Bear Lake roster, JV and varsity, invited a hometown hero, teachers, first responders, parents, etc., all about promoting the local figures that make White Bear Lake the city it is. Right now, they're going through the lineup introductions. They just finished up with Woodbury, and now they'll go to White Bear Lake. Both teams are mired in the Suburban East Conference, in the back of the pack, so to speak. White Bear Lake just 1-3. Woodbury has not played anyone outside of the conference. Stillwater off to a great start. Park of Cottage Grove has been throttling the competition in the Suburban East, and Crete-Durham Hall up there as well. The Suburban East usually fields a lot of solid contenders. Woodbury trying to find new leadership after several of their seniors from last year graduated, including Ella Cottle, who is now playing Division I lacrosse in Chicago. And White Bear Lake, it has been rough sledding. They had a 16-5 loss to Stillwater on Thursday, and they just had a tough time keeping up with some of the higher level teams. We'll see if they can change those fortunes tonight, as we are at the midway point of the season. Kayla Helmberger, the leading offensive producer for White Bear Lake, 18 goals, 4 hat tricks on the season, 22 points overall. If White Bear Lake is going to find success tonight, chances are it will come from number 18. And for Woodbury, it's Shelby Merrick, who has a couple of sock tricks after going scoreless in the first game of the season when she fouled out from a couple of yellow cards. We'll now pause as we get ready for the Star Spangled Banner.
No, they are. They're singing outside of this place. It doesn't sound like they're I think they're singing. Yeah, they're singing here. It's that bad. They're done now. They're done.
There was a technical snafu with the stadium sound system, but as you may have heard in our broadcast, everyone pitched in and provided a helping hand. But our performers were in the press box, and they've got some serious pipes, I'll say that much. They're a part of the choir, that would be why. They've got the choir, they've got the band, of course, with White Bear Lake. You know this by now if you're a longtime viewer. The choir and band, they wear shirts in the font set of the Beatles, so they take their music quite seriously. There's Colleen Cameron, the head coach for White Bear Lake, who I imagine takes her role just as seriously. Phil Roach, had a chance to talk to him beforehand, the head coach of Woodbury. He said the season opener with Parker Cottage Grove was an endless spiral of everything that could go wrong did go wrong, seemingly. As we said, Shelby Merrick disqualified after getting 2 yellow cards in the first 7 minutes. And she is the lone figure from last year's core. Back this year, Merrick will play Division II lacrosse at Concordia St. Paul, but you look at the production, she brought 70 goals a year ago, but look at all the talent that graduated. Kate Hooley, Ella Cottle, Olivia Mishikoff, 81, 71, and 53 points respectively. That is a lot of production on offense to replace, and that doesn't even speak to the defenders and others who also graduate but don't get as much love because they don't lead the attack. And as you know, with lacrosse, it's a little different compared to basketball or hockey, where anyone could step up and be the heroic figure as we get this underway. Reminder in girls lacrosse, the clock runs continuously until we get to the final minutes of regulation. So this is a faster moving game compared to boys lacrosse. It's Woodbury with the first possession. No shot clock, of course. And we'll get names and numbers as we make our way through. Pass broken up in front of the arc, and a foul is called. Couldn't quite hear what was said. But it's still Woodbury ball. Temperature in the mid-50s. Stick check on Adeline Riley. Woodbury, they've got a lot of youngsters moving up. They've got 2 7th graders and 2 8th graders, but it's White Bear Lake who gets the takeaway. That's Olive Holvig, number 54. White Bear Lake, just 3 seniors. Olivia Simpkins, one of the juniors, has verbal to Quincy out of Illinois to play college lacrosse. White Bear Lake looking for a lead pass. Holvig receives it, but doesn't have the space to attack, so White Bear Lake will reset and swing it back around. Girls lacrosse, as you know, you get 7 to a side. Griffin. Extra pass. Tried to hook up with her teammate on the cut. Instead, the ball gets ricocheted over to Elsa Wood, the 8th grade goalie. Now in girls lacrosse, you don't have a time limit like you do in boys lacrosse. But White Bear Lake putting on a lot of pressure. A foul is called, and number 14, Carly Griffin, got a little too close. So Woodbury gets a chance to reset as they try to get across midfield. Pass gets away, but Woodbury recovers. Centering pass not quite on target, looking for Shelby Merrick. Woodbury's success may depend on what number 13 does tonight, much like White Bear Lake and Helmberger. Merrick moves in and one-hops the first goal of the game. Since Merrick was disqualified from the Parker Cottage Grove game for those 2 yellow cards, she has a 6-goal game, a 3-goal game, and a 6-goal game. And last season, Merrick finished 5th in the state in scoring. White Bear Lake gets the ball after the draw. In girls lacrosse, it's called a draw, but it functions the same as a face-off. White Bear Lake sliding through the hole. Big save by the 8th grader, Elsa Wood. And even though it's early, just in the first quarter, that could be a stop that looms large later. Woodbury settles in. They won this meeting a year ago quite convincingly. Woodbury eyeing up the right side. And they'll take a little more time. Errant pass. Loose ball. Snared by the Royals. Number 28, Caroline Novak. Novak will attend Winona State next year. Not on any athletic scholarships that we're aware of, but we do like to highlight the college plans of seniors, whether they play sports or something else. Delayed, quick stick, shot is wide. And White Bear Lake was closest to the ball when it went out of bounds. So Woodbury got the look, they got the lane they were seeking, but couldn't get the shot on target. Now they'll work the field. White Bear Lake, the last couple of years, has been the site for Lacrosse Day, Minnesota, usually held in the opening week of the season. And the Bears get a quick stick in transition on Hometown Hero Night to even the score. Grace Castro looks like she was the one to do it. And it was. Elmberger with the assist. Time of the goal, 6:04. As you get another look at that transition score. Grace Castro has a phobia of planes. Raymond Babbitt could relate, for those of you old enough to understand the reference. But she flew in to make this an even game. As we return to action here at White Bear Lake. As I was saying, it's been the home of Lacrosse Day in Minnesota. A lot of the top boys teams come out here, and White Bear Lake has 2 fields available, this one and Price Field. I'm not sure the main field, the main stadium, has a name yet. But a lot of teams have had a chance to make a visit here. Woodbury doing a little dance. And Libby Schuler dances her way into the net.
Scoring for Woodbury, number 2, Libby Schuler.
Schuler, the junior, with the first goal of the game. Her first goal of the game. And that's going to be interesting to watch for Woodbury, as we are in the midway point of the season. As you look at Riley, but for Woodbury, Merrick coming in 15 goals. The next closest teammate of hers had 4. Schuler just picked up her 4th. Can Woodbury find those supporting figures like they had a year ago? As White Bear Lake gets the draw. But not for long, they lose it out of bounds. Riley. This is out to Novak. Royals searching. Ball up for grabs. As everyone darts and dashes and dives for it. Along the far side, it's White Bear Lake, who comes up with it briefly. Oh, Woodbury really had a wide open net, and Schuler scooped it up. But Woodbury does get the ground ball, and they'll have a chance to run another set after that brief fracas. This is Kaylee Schmitz. Stick check, takeaway by Georgia Wicklund. Foul, and White Bear Lake has to go back. A yellow card has been issued. And it's on Sophia Frascone, who will be attending Hamlin next fall, picking up a yellow for that stick check, and Woodbury will be down a player for the next minute or so. Looks like a cross check, a check from behind. That's what led to the yellow. And this is a good time to remind you of how yellow cards work in lacrosse. It's not entirely like soccer. If a player gets 2 yellows, they are disqualified from the game. But a team needs to accumulate 4 yellows before they lose a player for the entire game. We saw that happen last year when White Bear Lake upset Stillwater. So Frascone has a yellow card. If she gets a second, then she would be out for the rest of the game, but her team would not have to be 1 player down. As we get a stop from Elsa Wood, the 8th grade goalie for Woodbury. 2 minutes to go in the first. Wood, a save percentage of .538. She and Roxy Visar have played in the crease area this season. Not uncommon in lacrosse to see teams go with 2 goalies. Woodbury draws a foul. And this is helping them kill off the penalty on Frascone. To get the stop by Wood, and a couple of fouls called on White Bear Lake, allowing Woodbury to advance the ball. Still shorthanded. 1 minute to go in the first quarter. As we said, these games move pretty quickly with a running clock. Penalty expires. Woodbury back at full strength, but White Bear Lake flexing their strength as they get the ball back. They will try to score on the run. Helmberger still has it. 27 seconds. Foul on White Bear Lake. That will hand it back to Woodbury. They're going to pass back again. There's no time limit, but that can lead to some dangerous results. Nobody there for White Bear Lake on the backdoor pass. So the steal by Olive Holvig ultimately does no damage, and that brings us to the end of the first quarter. Woodbury leads 2-1 in a tight battle between two Suburban East Conference foes on SEC.
Mom, did you really need to buy 2 can openers for our emergency kit?
I can't help it. They're 2 for 1. What's this?
We need to keep our family communication plan safe in case of an emergency.
Thanks, Tita. Oh, man.
Well, good thing we kept all the lights we used for Diwali.
I've got the battery pack.
Keep my phone powered so we don't miss any alerts.
What about game night?
Sounds good.
Oh, we have to get to Mom and Dad's and get them somewhere safe. I've got the evacuation route loaded on my phone.
I've got an updated list of Dad's meds.
And I've got just what we need to get them to take this seriously.
If that doesn't convince them that we thought this through, I don't know what would.
Start a conversation with your family and plan together for emergencies.
There I was, 16, divorced, remarried with a baby, another on the way, and I could barely read or write. It was time for me to change my life and the lives of my family, so I went back and I got my high school diploma. That was the catalyst I needed. Now I have a bachelor's, a master's, and I became a teacher.
Mom, this is your very first yearbook.
Your commitment to education motivates me, your coworkers, and your students.
You showed me that if you come from nothing, you can still be anything.
You told me I deserve to succeed. It's been 15 years, and I still live by that.
You're the model for success for your kids, grandkids, and your students.
When I look at all these success stories, I cannot help but think it all started by getting my high school diploma.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Two-1 the score. Woodbury over White Bear Lake. For Woodbury this season, it has been feast or famine just about. Opened the year with that 13-2 loss to Park of Cottage Grove when Merrick was disqualified with the 2 yellows. They have wins over Forest Lake and Mounds View, but they struggled against Cretan Durham Hall. Merrick was the only player to score for Woodbury in that 15-3 loss. So the key for Woodbury, and they find a way to hang with the teams ahead of them in the standings. They'll get Stillwater later in the season, and the Ponies putting together quite the campaign. Here's a look at White Bear Lake. They lost a lot of talent as well. Jada Jensen and Beverly Peterson were their 2 leaders. And the players they had coming back, Castro, Lehman, Simpkins, they weren't exactly spectators along the bench, but like Woodbury, trying to make up a lot of ground for a team that had some bright moments a year ago. This year's White Bear Lake team has just 3 seniors, so they'll have some more plotting and building and development ahead of them. They have just 1 college commit currently on the roster, but more may follow in due time. White Bear Lake starts the second quarter with the ball. White Bear Lake already at the midway point of the regular season. It's not a long season in lacrosse. Usually 13, 14 games before you go to sections and state. It is a quick series of games. Part of that weather-related. White Bear Lake, good job getting open on the part of Carly Griffin, but a better job by Elsa Wood making the read defensively, but the outlet pass too long, and White Bear Lake will get a free ball on the attacking side. This is something I've highlighted in a lot of lacrosse games. You got to make sure those outlet passes are on target. Oh, White Bear Lake had a wide open lane right in front of the net. And then a stick handling issue bars them from an attempt. They still have the ball, but there have been a couple of point blank chances. A couple of point blank looks that couldn't be tested. This is Griffin. He's had a lot of touches so far. Griffin draws the foul, and this will be our first free shot from the 8-meter arc, or at least free look, as the foul occurred inside that second arc area. You have the 12-meter and 8-meter. And Griffin with a direct strike from the 8-meter line to tie it up at 2. Griffin with their 6th goal of the year. Those 8-meter looks in the sport of girls lacrosse present prime opportunities. Woodbury wins the draw. Getting around one defender. And a sidearm answer from Libby Schuler, her 2nd goal of the game. And that was just all Libby, using agility and cunning to outmaneuver her defender. So 19 seconds after White Bear Lake evens the score, Schuler, the junior, gives Woodbury the lead once more. Another draw control for Woodbury. And they'll look to make another move. Some quick strike offense out of the Royals in the last couple of draws. And that was Shelby Merrick with her second goal. Nothing fancy there. Merrick just knew how to weave through traffic. 3 goals in 30 seconds. 1 for White Bear Lake and now 2 for Woodbury. Merrick and Caroline Novak lead the team in draw controls. This one will go to Woodbury after a brief scrum. Foul. Woodbury wasn't ready. Novak flung it right away after the whistle. Woodbury not ready for that. And that allows White Bear Lake to execute a high-low. A high-low quick stick. Makes it 4-3. Helmberger with their first goal of the game. Coming in with 4 hat tricks. Kylie Lehman has 1. Picking that up against Hill Murray. Those two schools have several rivalry games with each other, owing to the short distance between the two. Hill Murray based in Maplewood, of course. Woodbury wins this draw control. So these last few possessions have illustrated the importance of not just draw control, but that White Bear Lake score came off a Woodbury unforced error. Novak passed the ball as soon as the whistle to resume play sounded. Their teammates weren't quite prepared for that. White Bear Lake gets a free ball, and that leads to the high-low quick stick for Helmberger. Woodbury. And a great chance. White Bear Lake gets the stick check from behind. Now it's their turn to come up with a big stop. Bears on the run. They'll wait for the offense to get set. Whitney Fleming stumbles on the turf, but doesn't cause any error or issue. Big recovery and a big goal for White Bear Lake. Olivia Simpkins, the Quincy Verbal.
Olivia Simpkins.
And we are seeing a flurry of scoring activity. Woodbury scoring twice in 11 seconds. White Bear Lake needed a little more time than that, but they have answered back magnificently. Simpkins, the junior, had 13 goals a year ago, picking up her 9th of the season. A green card issued. We'll explain that in a moment. Woodbury with another fast and furious strike. Novak with her first goal. And the scores just keep on coming. A little tough to see right now. We've got shadows cast on White Bear Lake's field, and the lights haven't come on yet. But Novak scoring in a flash there. Woodbury really picking up a speedy, swift offensive attack in this second quarter. And here's what happened. Woodbury had a woman up after the green card. And if you're curious, for those of you new to lacrosse, a green card is a 1-minute penalty given to a team for delaying the game or violating the non-engagement area. Woodbury wins the draw and are engaging their offense in huge ways. Another one-woman show from Marek, who has recorded a hat trick in every game since the season opener. Again, she was disqualified 7 minutes into the first quarter, held scoreless. You wonder where she might be had that not occurred. But she is making up for it beautifully. Again, 6 goals, 3 goals, 6 goals, and now 3, and we still have 6:16 left in the second quarter. So Woodbury getting a pair of goals again in 25 seconds. The first one coming off of a green card, which was, again, a penalty assessed for delay of game or violation of non-engagement area. So Woodbury had a woman up, but they didn't need a minute. They just floored it. And then they win the draw. White Bear Lake wins this one. Now White Bear Lake drawing some fouls. Lehman plays right-handed for Lacrosse, but is a dominant left-hand user when it comes to writing. So a degree of ambidexterity is what I'm trying to say. Still has the ball, does a complete lap around the field, and draws a foul within the 8-meter arc. So she'll get a lane all to herself along that semicircle arc.
Set up. Let's know the difference between being on the 8 and being at the midfield, okay? I mean, it is your responsibility. We'll give you that one.
Just back here,
on her whistle.
Oh.
Lehman jumped the whistle. Elsa Wood on top of it. Woodbury looking to flip the field, holding a 2-goal lead.
Did we ever figure out when they blow the whistle, but they still keep playing?
Did that green card signal a shift in momentum, a shift in vibe? We'll have to see. Still a long way to go. White Bear Lake, they are swarming up top in this set. The space near the net. Nobody down there for Woodbury, but there's a lot of turf, a lot of green. If a Woodbury player can get a cut, get ahead of a defender. White Bear Lake playing aggressively here. They get called for a foul. Woodbury gets a chance to reset. Interesting strategies unfolding in the second quarter that has seen a good share of scoring. Jeweler, one of them, she's got a pair of goals. But another sloppy pass. We've seen a few of them. And now White Bear Lake. I don't know if they have the numbers. That pass that got away briefly from Lehman. Likely takes away a transition scoring chance. But there's still plenty of time for White Bear Lake to make a move. As we are nearing the 2-minute mark. White Bear Lake 2-4. They've struggled mightily this year. A lot of it, as we said, has to do with some of the players they lost to graduation. Woodbury in the same boat. White Bear Lake executes another high-low quick stick. I believe Ryland West was the setup figure and Helmberger the beneficiary.
Number 18, Kayla Helmberger. Releases to number 11, Ryland West.
That is exactly the case. Helmberger with her second goal. White Bear Lake and Woodbury have both scored 4 in this frame. But we still have 1:46. So this is an important draw because there is an eternity of time to make another run. We've seen Woodbury floor it if they can get a favorable draw. And White Bear Lake, they've now pulled off the high-low quick stick play a couple of times. Let's see what they do here. And the high-low, earlier they transformed the turnover into a scoring play.
Sorry about that.
Yes, through traffic. Says, let's try again. If at first you don't succeed, go back out, reset, and tie it up. Harley Griffin to Olivia Simpkins. And Simpkins gets back in the frame just in time for us to see her pull off a third high-low play for White Bear Lake. And we still have 1:14 left in the quarter. Simpkins with goal number 2. And that brings her to 10 for the season. Simpkins going to Quincy, White Bear Lake. With a chance to take the lead after winning another draw. Will they run another high-low play? Or do they have another option concocted, another scheme route ready to go? No, they're gonna run the same play again. It's Griffin to Helmberger for the second time this quarter. Helmberger gets the hat trick.
Number 18, Kayla Helmberger. With the assistant.
White Bear Lake up 7-6, and we still have 38 seconds. It was West the first time, it's Griffin the second time, and by my count, Griffin picking up a pair of assists. She has 3 points. White Bear Lake with 6 goals. 6 goals in the second quarter, but Woodbury, they've done a fair bit of scoring themselves. That's why we're at a 1-goal margin. Woodbury draws the foul, but this will eat up time. Woodbury has to reset again, and now they've got to hurry. Novak cut off, and White Bear Lake, they're just going to foul with impunity and run out the quarter here. Woodbury turns it over, but there won't be enough time to make another charge. But White Bear Lake made a furious charge in the second quarter, scoring 6 goals to take a 7-6 lead over White Bear Lake. Helmberger picking up a hat trick in the second quarter. We'll have plenty of highlights as we break down the first half. When we come back, you're watching High School Girls Lacrosse on SEC Sports. Woodbury and White Bear Lake knotted up in a close one. The Bears lead by 1.
I never realized that I'd be taking care of a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old on my own. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. We get down on ourselves on not being able to, we're the providers, but we also have to learn to take care of ourselves. Self-love made me a better dad because I realized my worth. My daughter Isabella recently had a graduation into high school, and I got emotional because I saw pride in her eyes. I saw my daughter have her own self-love, and I saw the hard work of me being that dad 24/7 transfer to my teenage daughter. The word father means a lot to me. When I give my love to my children as a father, I can see it.
I'm a different kind of threat. I can't be scared away or negotiated with. You can't call the cops on me.
Do you still want to hang out after?
I don't want your money or your TV. I don't even have to break in. I'm invited.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and if you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
At school, it feels like everyone's staring at me, and I'm just kind of not really a person.
Sometimes I can't believe that you could be proud of me if I'm not proud of myself.
It just feels hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
Think of our best times together. Let's do more of that.
And I'll try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
Mom, did you really need to buy 2 can openers for our emergency kit?
I can't help it. They're 2 for $1. What's this?
We need to keep our family communication plan safe in case of an emergency.
Thanks, Tita.
Oh, man.
Well, good thing we kept all the lights we used for Diwali.
I've got the battery pack.
Keep my phone powered so we don't miss any alerts.
What about game night?
Sounds good.
Oh, we have to get to Mom and Dad's and get them somewhere safe. I've got the evacuation route loaded on my phone.
I've got an updated list of Dad's meds.
And I've got just what we need to get them to take this seriously.
If that doesn't convince them that we thought this through, I don't know what would.
Start a conversation with your family and plan together for emergencies.
My dad showcased a sense of love that I never had before. It felt like it was something that I've always wanted. I mean, he's not only my parent, like he's like my best friend.
Learn about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org.
A tale of two diverging trends, giving us a 7-6 game in favor of White Bear Lake. This is high school girls lacrosse on SEC Sports, our final spring sports broadcast for the month of April. We'll have some May games coming your way. There I am, Mike Beaton, narrating the pictures for you on Hometown Heroes Night. Before the game, White Bear Lake girls lacrosse honored teachers, parents, and others who they considered a hometown hero. Big celebration. A couple of food trucks came out. And the folks who are watching this getting quite the show. The first quarter started with a little flair, a little dance. And Shelby Marek started things off, 3:30 into the game. The top returning scorer for Woodbury, White Bear Lake. Making a couple of plays. One was stopped by Elsa Wood, but they get on the board with Grace Castro, one of the three seniors. Since then, it's been back and forth. Woodbury held the upper hand to end the first, leading 2-1. That was the first of two goals from Libby Schuler, the junior. And there's her second after we saw the score from Carly Griffin, who has played hockey since she was 4 years old. And lacrosse gets a lot of hockey crossovers. This is where White Bear Lake was able to regain momentum and seize control. There's another example, a recovery after Olivia Sinkins lost the ball briefly. But White Bear Lake was able to pull off those high-low plays, those quick stick procedures, maneuvers. There's one of them that Kayla Helmberger converted for a score. She picked up a hat trick in the second quarter, her 5th of the season. Now at 21 altogether. And coming in, she was a few goals behind the top 10 in the leaderboard. Sydney Martinson of Moorhead entered today with the state lead. Marek and Griffin looking like they're having a chat. Of course, like any other sport, for those serious about lacrosse, there are club sports, club leagues out there for athletes to compete outside of the spring season. Seems to be a trend these days. Woodbury wins the draw. Where they have excelled, where they have thrived, is turning those draws into quick scores. We saw them do that several times in the second quarter, once off of a green card when White Bear Lake was tagged for a delay of game. And 3 times off of draw control. Woodbury at 2-2, White Bear Lake at 2-4. Both teams maybe need a year or two to have seriously challenge the Suburban East. Parker Cottage Grove, as we said, having a fantastic season. Stillwater, they're in third in the most recent state polls. Hesitation and the finish. I use that phrase a lot in basketball, but that would be an apropos summary for Shelby Marek, who dumps in goal number 4 and ties it up again. Marek won't be going far. I spoke with Bill Roach ahead of time. He said Marek did have some interest from lacrosse schools along the East Coast where the sport has a stronger foothold, but Marek opted to play closer to home, so she will go to Concordia St. Paul to play lacrosse not too far from here over at Seafoam Stadium. White Bear Lake jumped the draw, so Woodbury gets another possession. Again, would have been hard to say how many goals Marek would have had she not received the 2 yellows against Parker Cottage Grove as early as she did, but she's done since then. Foul as Woodbury was about to attack. That was Adeline Riley, who should get a free position at the 8-meter arc, and does. That foul occurred just outside the crease. Riley, a couple of White Bear Lake players got alongside her. And having a quick first step is crucial if you're going to try to defend an 8-meter foul. White Bear Lake, they've got numbers, racing in. Oh, shot goes off the crossbar. But the ricochet bounces back to White Bear Lake, and they'll have another chance. I think that was Griffin. No, that was Castro, who had the perfect look and came in full head of steam. Just bounced it off the crossbar. Bears will get another chance. No, a stick check. Dislodges the ball momentarily. Griffin picks it up. She'll work around the crease. Tries to go backdoor. You notice Woodbury also dancing around that crease. That is the goalie's safe space. You might be asking yourself, with these two teams, what they are getting after it, playing with a lot of fiery intensity. Nothing malicious, of course, but remember, even if they're not in front of the pack, not only do these games matter for conference positioning, they can also influence section positioning. And as we said, we're at the midway point of the season effectively for lacrosse. So even though it feels like we just got started, yeah, we're going to be talking about sections, because in a few weeks, that will come into focus. As Woodbury coughs it up, White Bear Lake regains control. Tied at 7 here at White Bear Lake Stadium. White Bear Lake took a 7-6 lead after scoring 6 goals. And a really fantastic glimpse from Castro in transition. They get an even better look here as Ryland West squeezes through the hole and slithers her way to the net for her first goal of the game. Ryland West picked up an assist earlier. She scores her 6th of the year. Woodbury ups the draw this time. They're wasting little time. Riley brings the ball up and we'll get things set. Now, interestingly, White Bear Lake and Woodbury in most cases in the same section, but Lacrosse a one-class sport, so Woodbury grouped in section 3, White Bear Lake in section 4. But as we said, section positioning is still up for grabs. If you're curious, they have not released any QRF scores yet for Lacrosse, so we won't get a sense of section favorites for another week at least. But Woodbury with a timely poke to deny White Bear Lake another look from close range. Neither team is led by more than 2. And remember, no time limit to get the ball across. Sport officiated quite differently from boys lacrosse. Novak starts an attack. Couldn't break free, goes behind the net. We haven't seen too many setups from behind as of late. Novak flings it too hard, and the closest player to the ball was Harper Layden. 2 8th grade goalies in this one. But we have seen a fair share of youngsters, 7th and 8th graders. Different sport, but let's not forget Hill Murray, the 2A girls hockey state champion. They had an 8th grade goalie starting all season. That worked out pretty well for them. This is Helmberger. Helmberger with 3 goals. Bears work it around. West lost it. Woodbury player might have gotten a stick in there. Royals trying to floor it. Doesn't look like they'll get the opportunity. They'll have to back off. Mark with 4 goals to lead the Royals. He gets the ball, takes a swipe, Layton with the save. Rebound collected by Frascone, and a foul on White Bear Lake. An 8-meter look for Frascone, who will be attending Hamlin, and she pipes in another equalizer.
Scoring for Woodbury, number 9, Sophia Frascone.
9:19, the time of the goal. Frascone notches her first one. And just her fourth of the season. This is what I find fascinating about Woodbury so far. Only 5 players have scored. Now, in this sport, not every player who takes the field is going to be putting up goals, because you have your primary attacking line and your defensive line. But that is still a striking figure. Only 5 players to score, and Marek has most of them. Battle for the ball, won by Marek. Gotta watch out for those passes now. Woodbury got the timeout call in. Neither side used one in the first half. You get 2 per half. Woodbury using one here to save possession. 2:04 left in the third. Another striking facet with Woodbury's offense. And again, this speaks to how much talent they lost to graduation. Marek, 19 goals. The rest of the team, 19. With this timeout, like we said, we're at the midway point of the season, which means we've got lots more games. So let's shaboozy our way to the upcoming schedule for White Bear Lake. May 1st, Forest Lake. The day after Cinco de Mayo, Cretin-Durham Hall. That will be one to put on the calendar. Park of Cottage Grove. That will be another key test for the Bears. They'll go on the road to play Edina and wrap it up against the Tartan North St. Paul Co-op. As we said, just 3 seniors for the Bears, and Helmberger, their leading scorer, a freshman. So even if this season doesn't produce a lot of wins for the Bears, they're 2-4 right now. There is a lot to look forward to with this group. We mentioned Griffin, the junior, who has played a lot of hockey since 4, and as we've said before, lacrosse, a natural crossover of sorts for hockey players. Chloe Zender, we haven't seen her a lot, at least in terms of on-field action, but she has been a dancer for 14 years. And that is Eva Moss. Lots of fun facts to be had. It's not just about how many points you can get, how many goals you can score, how many saves, all of that. Yes, they're nice, but this is a lot deeper. This goes a lot deeper, I should say, than just how many goals, how many points you get. You know me, I always like to highlight facets, factoids, and other tidbits beyond the stat line. As the sun sets here in White Bear Lake. Under 2 minutes left in the second. That was a dangerous pass. Rylan West ultimately snatches it. Castro on the move. She flung a shot off the crossbar earlier. Great transition setup. Castro to Molly Zender, the freshman.
Number 16.
No, that was Simpkins. It's tough to read those 5s and 6s sometimes, depending on the font set, but look at this. Castro, for a moment, you thought might seek a chance at redemption, but saw a wide open Simpkins ahead of her. We've talked about the high-low play working in White Bear Lake's favor on sets. It works just as well in transition. Castro to Simpkins. White Bear Lake takes the lead back with 1:10 left in the third, and that errant pass from Woodbury costs them. Will Rhodes talked about the passing game being an area that he would like to see some improvement on, as Castro, they took the face-off in for a chance. Now Woodbury. Whistle. And just a common foul. Took everyone a moment to figure out what was going on. Castro getting a little too physical. She is tagged with her first yellow. Unsportsmanlike conduct is the ruling, and that is a 2-minute penalty. So Woodbury will have a woman up for the next 2 minutes. It will carry over into the fourth, of course, if they don't score here to end the third. And I was about to say before Castro took the penalty, if you're White Bear Lake, you might start hacking away because, again, the clock doesn't stop until the final minute. Another errant pass. The Royals not unraveling necessarily, but impeding their own efforts with all those fouls. And then we get a whistle just as West was about to make a move with 8 seconds left in the third. We see the tail end of that, but it was a foul drawn by West. She'll get an 8-meter look. 3 seconds left. Sent away by Elsa Wood, and Woodbury dodges a big scare. They trail by 1, but they'll still have a woman up to start the fourth quarter. As we continue live coverage of high school girls lacrosse on SCC Sports, it's a 1-goal game.
The bravest person I know is definitely my dad, 100%.
My friend Sean.
My daughter's Cynthia, and she was in the United States Army.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
Our journey has not been easy.
One of the bravest things he did was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
When he decided he was going to go back to school after 23 years.
It was the better part of my life that I spent in the Marine Corps. Transitioning out, it's a difficult thing.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
So I really appreciate it.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and if you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
At school, it feels like everyone's staring at me and I'm just kind of not really a person.
Sometimes I can't believe that you could be proud of me if I'm not proud of myself.
It just feels hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
Think of our best times together. Let's do more of that.
Try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
Fourth quarter about to start. Both teams score twice in the third. White Bear Lake, most notably, getting a transition score. Castro to Simpkins, and West was able to convert an 8-meter look earlier, but Woodbury making a big stop. Elsa Wood stopping an 8-meter shot. In the closing seconds of the third, they still have a woman up after Castro was tagged for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And Woodbury find the open player. Push foul. And that occurred inside the arc or close to it. Schuler just outside the arc, but goes across and rifles it in. And the Woodbury bench jubilant about that one. Schuler with the hat trick. 51 seconds into the fourth quarter. And that yellow card penalty non-releasable. So Castro still in the penalty area. Schuler, the second Woodbury player to record a hat trick. As we are even again at 9, but errant passing has complicated their bid.
I think we do
Libby Schuler came into this game with just 3 goals. So I think you can do the math and extrapolate that she has recorded a season high. White Bear Lake drawing a foul, and that will kill off the penalty. We're back at full strength. Woodbury was able to get 1 on the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty to Castro. We'll see how White Bear Lake's offense operates. West is called for the foul, and that will negate any opportunity of an attack there. These two teams in separate sections for lacrosse. Both aren't on the short list of contenders, but hope to find a degree of galvanization that a victory would provide. There's a good deal of potential, and Marek doing what she can to lead this Woodbury team. And this is how you build it. These tight games that come down to fourth quarter execution. Neither team has led by more than 2. What can we expect in this final 8:20? Is it tight? You'll find out. Woodbury making a move. Now it's a dash to see who can get there first. Push foul called, I think. Either that or Woodbury was closest to it. They'll get another chance. You have to think Marek. Would be a leading candidate in this type of game. Woodbury does have a victory in a 1-goal game earlier this season. Marek through traffic finds just enough space to launch a cannon into the net. Goal number 5 for Marek.
Number 13, Kelby Marek.
Woodbury retakes the lead. First time in the second half, Woodbury has gone in front. Marek now has 20 goals on the season. Remember, she played only 7 minutes in the season opener, getting 2 yellow cards that resulted in a disqualification. Actually, closer to 5 minutes. But I think you know what I'm talking about, even if 2 minutes were spent in the penalty area. Pass gets away. Seven minutes to go in the fourth again. The clock does not stop until we get into the final minute or so. White Bear Lake goes out of bounds. It's that gray line just beyond the dotted line. That is the out of bounds marker. A lot of lines to keep track of when you have football, soccer, and lacrosse. Woodbury charges in again. They're back up by 2. And guess who? Marek with her 3rd sock trick. Marek was holding her face, and there you see why she got hit with the stick of Castro just as she released the ball. Nothing was called, and I'm not sure if anyone would have spotted it or if something should have been called. I'm not an expert in designating lacrosse rules, but Marek, her 3rd sock trick. If you're keeping track, no goals in the first game. 6-3, 6-6, and Woodbury bursts through the seam up the middle again. It's Novak this time. Woodbury with their largest lead of the entire game. They have scored 4 unanswered in the 4th. White Bear Lake will take a timeout with 5:48 left in the fourth. Now Woodbury has some breathing room if they can win the draw coming out of this timeout. What had been a tight game has turned into a sea of blue for the Royals. Novak, by the way, picked up her second goal. Looking ahead for the Royals, Roseville is next. They've got a date with Hill Murray on Saturday. I will be there. It's a noon game. Stillwater, that will be a big one on the calendar. St. Croix Prep, Gentry Academy, visitation in their section. St. Croix Prep as well. Remember, lacrosse, a one-class sport, so you have some less typical section rivalries and alignments. But conference-wise, Stillwater, probably their biggest game on the calendar. As we said for Woodbury, the season has been feast or famine, and this game has seemingly been that way. There have been moments where things didn't quite pan out. I think they'd like to clean up some of the passing miscues that took away some chances, and in one case led to a White Bear Lake score, but they have really stepped things up and answered authoritatively in the fourth. White Bear Lake not letting this Woodbury run dampen their spirits, at least for the moment. There's still time, 5:48, but this next draw is key in terms of dictating the flow, the tempo of this one. Marek, as we said, no goals in the first game. Since then, 6 goals, 3 goals, 6 goals, 6 goals. There's no telling how the leaderboard will play out. But Marek is playing her way up that list. There's a chance that by the end of this week, she could enter the leaderboard and continue the climb. Remember, she finished 5th in the state last year. White Bear Lake wins the draw. This night has fallen. White Bear Lake would love a score here. This is where time now becomes a factor. 3 goals isn't that large of a deficit, but with 5 minutes and change to go, you might have to take a more gutsy stance compared to earlier junctions. Carly Griffin has been a leading figure, but throws out to Simpkins. Olivia regroups, finds Griffin again. Ideally, you want to get a goal without losing too much time. White Bear Lake using up a minute here. Castro. Nothing up front. Woodbury throws up another wall. Griffin with an opening, fires, scores! Just like yesterday's storm system that broke up around the metro, Woodbury's wall broke up around the middle. Griffin with her second goal of the game, 4 points unofficially. That is a huge one. with 4:20 left on the clock. You can get your laughs out of the way now. 4:20 to go, 2-goal game, but you still got to win the faceoff if you're White Bear Lake. You can't let too much time drain off the clock. It took them over a minute. Novak winning it for the Royals, but this is where passing has been problematic at times. Last thing you want to do is give your opponent a free ball. Now, Woodbury will have a chance to get set, but a pass gets away. I was talking about it just a moment ago. The sloppy passing. A consistent and vexing impediment if you're a Woodbury fan. So White Bear Lake gets the free ball, but remember the clock doesn't stop until we get to that final minute. And now White Bear Lake having trouble. They get a foul call to help them out. Now they get set. That last goal from Griffin was a big one because now you can afford to be a little more patient. Not too patient, of course. Bears still trail by 2 with over 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes left. Griffin. A big point day for the junior. Big shot. White Bear Lake closest to the ball this time. But you gotta hurry, gotta scramble, and they do. Both teams have a timeout left to stop the clock if they need it. Flip to Griffin. Tries to muscle her way through the hole. And barreled in a little too hard. Foul on White Bear Lake, Woodbury ball. And now the Royals can attempt to ice it. They're up by 2. I don't think they will force the issue anymore. Wood playing keep away. You noticed she had to go outside the crease. That is the one time limit in effect for girls lacrosse. White Bear Lake's pressure leads to a takeaway. Quick stick and a score! Griffin to Helmberger. And the margin is won with 1 minute and 36 seconds on the clock.
Number 18, Kayla Helmberger. Releases to number 14, Carly Griffin.
Woodbury scored 4 unanswered. It looked like they could get to the finish. We'll have another timeout with 1:36 to go. Helmberger with their 4th goal of the game. And Griffin, unofficially, 5 points with 2 goals and 3 assists. Carly Griffin coming in had 5 and 2 respectively, a total of 7. And Helmberger up to 22 goals on the season. If you like what you see, we've got a few more games coming up in May. And we have one more game tomorrow. We'll go to Mahtomedi for Mahtomedi SJ Boys Lacrosse, followed by Tartan Simley Softball May 7th, and Hastings Tartan Girls Lacrosse May 9th. That's coming up on SCC, and we'll also have our always anticipated spring concerts and graduations. Always A distinguished honor for the seniors who get their caps and gowns, their diplomas. They get to walk across the stage. So a lot to look forward to on SEC. White Bear Lake using the timeout after scoring. Interesting decision to take the timeout here, but there's no telling if or when you'll get the ball back. So while it's an interesting decision, it's not necessarily an uncharacteristic or an ill-advised one. Melberger, her 5th hat trick. Her season high, if you're curious, was 5, and she picked that up against Hill Murray. The game that was won by the Pioneers. The task is not finished yet for White Bear Lake. 1:36 to go. The face-off, of course, is important, but if Woodbury wins it, can they hang on to the ball? White Bear Lake's defense has hounded, surrounded, and harassed them more than once. Woodbury committing an unforced error, an errant pass, and a couple of times it has led to White Bear Lake takeaways that resulted in scores. Woodbury will get this face-off. How do they approach this? With a 1-goal lead, I don't know if you can afford to be too conservative. You'll take a foul, though, and Novak waiting for the official to spot the restart area. Novak had a wide open lane, but I don't think she was close enough to get an uncontested look. Under a minute now. Another botched pass. But White Bear Lake deep in their own territory, and they give it right back to Woodbury. Now the Royals can work the clock. As we approach 30 seconds, they don't have to do anything more. They just have to avoid giving up a free ball. They can run around till the cows come home. Time winding down. 15 seconds, and that should do it. White Bear Lake is going to run out of time as Woodbury plays keep away. They score 4 goals in the 4th. White Bear Lake got within 1, but that's as close as they come. Woodbury runs out the clock to win their 2nd 1-goal victory of the season. They beat Forest Lake 10-9 earlier in the year. They beat White Bear Lake 12-11 in a game that was close all the way through. Neither team led by more than 3. And the player of the game for Woodbury, I don't think there's any question. It's the Concordia St. Paul bound senior who picked up her 3rd sock trick of the year, Shelby Marek. And Libby Schuler also collecting a hat trick for Woodbury. Marek, as we saw multiple times, employed her speed, agility, and wit. Looking at all the goals, I don't think any of them were assisted. It was just all-out effort from Marek, whose acumen is just about stratospheric. And when you have someone like that who can create opportunities on her own, that is difficult to contain, as she demonstrated once again tonight against White Bear Lake. What a game! Came down to the final moments Woodbury hangs on and goes to 3-2. White Bear Lake drops to 2-5. That will do it from here at White Bear Lake Area High School. Don't forget to join us tomorrow if you're watching on SCC for boys lacrosse. Matabidi and St. Thomas Academy in the Metro East. So for the rest of our crew, this is Mike Beaton thanking you for watching live coverage of high school girls lacrosse on SCC Sports. We'll see you next time.